Shalom, real quick. This is a response to IUIC Birmingham. GMS wife left barefoot and pregnant, and they go into these two zombies right here, and they go into hey, Yahweh Shemal Shai is going to destroy the IUIC, and the elect is going to come out of that. All right. Now, what am I going to call this? Does this make sense? They going against us about the new moon is based upon the new moon is a full moon, which is clearly off. I did 3 videos about a couple of weeks back to back, and then this demon, what's his name, Nathaniel, he comes back and breaks it down the wrong way. He puts up a chart and it shows you the phases of the moon. And the new moon is when the moon is invisible. The full moon is when the moon is full, which is 2 weeks into the new moon. So these guys going to, and then I don't get mad at them because they're only regurgitating what they learned from the leadership of the IUIC. And they're clearly wrong. They're going to be wrong on it. On the new moon, they keep their high holy days off. The Passover was off. They kept it on a so-called new moon when the moon was invisible, which they're supposed to keep it when the moon is full. All right. So let's see where we can go with this. So if you listen, it's only 15 minutes long. So I'm listening to this 3 minutes in. So the guy is explaining to this woman that claims she's from GMS. I don't know if she is, but when I saw that, looked at the title, I thought they were going to talk about, she's in GMS, but a man left her, so I left GMS. But let's see what else they're going to say. I'm going to let part of it play, but I'm going to speak on it. So when you listen to the first 3 minutes and 32 seconds, show you that these guys don't think. They just take whatever they are given to them. Like I said, they're not a part of the Church of Berea. They don't check things out. Whatever the leadership says, starting with Bishop Nate, they just regurgitate it. They don't understand it. So they said that the earth, he asked the woman, when was the moon created? And she said on the 4th day, right? So so their thing is to say, well, how do you get the Sabbath is based upon the new moon when the moon started on the 4th day? That day represents 1,000 years. It's not talking about an actual day. So they're mixing and matching scriptures that don't belong. So let's deal with this then. Let's deal with this. They teach that the new moon is a full moon. And to prove that the new moon is a full moon, they'll go to Genesis 1. That's a new thing that Bishop Nate, this is cunningly devised fable, all right? Fables. They say that when the angels created the sun, the moon, and the stars, the angels didn't create the moon being invisible. The angels created the moon being full. So therefore, that's the new moon, which doesn't make sense. So if that's the case, let's go by that. Let's go by their logic. Hey, the scriptures say, then it shall be known there has been a prophet or prophets among them. Then it shall be known who am I chosen. You're going to find out that the premier group of the Most High of the Israelites are the men of GMS. All right. We're not saying we're perfect, but we have the truth. When we say we have 100% truth, damn it, we got 100% truth. All right. So, and other camps should buck up against this, But anyway, so they're saying, based upon this, well, if you go to, Genesis 1, verse 14, and you read down, it speaks about the moon, the sun, and the stars. So when the angels created the moon, it was a full moon. Whether it was or not, it's irrelevant. Because when was it the high holy days established? When they went into the wilderness. All right? So they're saying, based upon Genesis 1 verse 14, they're saying, well, when they asked the sister, when was the moon, the lights put up in the heavens? So he read it, and she had to admit, the fourth day, which I agree was the fourth day. So if the fourth day, we're going by Genesis 1 days and regular days. First day, second day, fourth day. One day with the Lord is 1,000 years. 1,000 years is one day. So if the moon was created as a full moon, which is the first day, it was created on the fourth day. So guess what? When they kept the Passover, they still kept it. They still went off, because you got to start from the fourth day. So you got to go from the fourth day, fifth day, sixth day, seventh day, eighth day, ninth day, 10th day, 11 days. So the 11th day of the full moon is your first Sabbath. Or let's deal with this. I don't know where the hell they got, you find a calendar somewhere, wherever country you are, go to the supermarket, get a calendar and count 7 days, and that's when you on the sixth day in the evening is the seventh day, which clearly doesn't make no sense if you use your head for something other than a hat rack. All right. So it says, so based upon them keeping the full moon is the new moon, when does your Passover got to fall on? Let's say the first of whatever month. Let's say the new moon falls in on the first day of whatever month. And that's the first day of the year, the first month of the year, the moon of the year, right? It says you got to count 14 days. At 14 days at evening is your Passover, or your the beginning of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. I hope you're sticking with me. I'm going to make it make sense, unlike them. So the first day on whatever month calendar, the new moon, which is a full moon, according to them, you count 14 days. So when the full moon comes in, you got to count that as day number 4, right? 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So that means you got to have the Passover on the 18th, at evening, going into the 19th day. They don't make it make sense. If they would stop and check things out, if they had the spirit of the Church of Berea, they would see it, and they would question the leadership of the IUIC about, wait a minute, you said the new moon, which is the full moon, was established on the fourth day. So that's 3 more days. So that's the 7 days. So you're playing with the days in Genesis 1 compared to regular days. What does it say in Peter? 2 Peter 3 verse 8. A day with the Lord is 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as 1 day. What did High Priest Ariel teach us about Genesis 1? It says in the evening and the morning were the first day. Then he goes to 2 Peter 3 verse 8, which would be 1,000 years. So the way we were taught that took like in a course of 7,000 years. All right. Let's say, well, we don't believe that Ariel went off. Let's say it did take 24 hours to create the earth, 24 hours to create the firmament, 24 hours to do this. Let's go by that. The moon, the sun, and the stars were created on the fourth day. So isn't that when we should start our calendar? So why did you guys have it 14 days after the new moon, which is really the 10th day? So you guys do not know how to make it make sense. Stop being regurgitators of this nonsense that Bishop Nathaniel is teaching you. Is nonsense. It's complete nonsense. If that was the case, don't you think the so-called white man, it says there's nothing that, what does it say in Ezekiel 28? It said, thou art wiser than Daniel. And there's nothing that can hide from thee. So guess what? Wouldn't the white man say that? The new moon is the full moon? Huh? Make it make sense. And hey, just like, because of Bishop Nate's pride, because of Bishop Nate's pride, that's why he can't see nothing, because he only sees what he wants to see. I'm gonna give you some proof. The Cornelius thing. We got kicked out of the school pursuant to what is that, Matthew 10. They should kick you out of their synagogues. We got kicked out of the school for teaching that Cornelius is an Israelite. They said, no way, kick him out. Many, many years later, 15, 20 years later, Bishop Nathaniel is teaching that Cornelius is an Israelite. In closing, I want to say this. He was wrong on the Cornelius thing. He now teaches it. He never apologized to us. He never apologized to the leaders before him. He went against King Masha, which he doesn't even believe that Masha is King David. When so-called Ariah, the news went out that he died, Bishop Nate made a video calling my elder. Well, if he's your elder, why did you leave your elder? And all the breakdowns that you got it from High Priest Ariah. He was a breakdown man. So you found out that you were wrong on the Cornelius thing. You didn't get the understanding of Cornelius being an Israelite until years later, and you kicked us out unjustly. So that's all going to come back and bite you. So here you are, and you came up with that new moon, full moon thing back in 2016. You established the IUIC, which Christ, you still calling Christ. You started it back in 2003, and it took you how many years? We're talking, 13 years later, which is 2016. That's when you, all of a sudden, you got it one morning. Oh, wow, the new moon is the full moon. So every year before that, when you were keeping the high holy days and the Passover and so forth, the Most High didn't come to you. So the Most High is going to allow you, because you think the Lord is directly dealing with you, the Most High is going to allow you to keep those days and go off on the day. And all of a sudden, 13 years later, oh, by the way, the new moon is the full moon. And you had some people leave. This organization is going to come to naught. And the ones of you that are of the elect, because I believe some of y'all, a lot of y'all are part of the elect. That's just my personal opinion. But you're clearly going off when you teach this nonsense. And then they teach you with pride. So let's listen to a little bit more. Like I said, I want you to listen to this whole video. I'm going to try to listen to the rest of it. I was getting ready to step out, but let's go. You know that we got a lot of people that teach the Bible wrong, and the reason why we're teaching the Bible wrong because this guy says so. Oh, they're going off. Oh, if he said it, he came in on the horse on the Passover, which was off by 4 days according to the new moon thing. It says the scriptures say the simple believeth every word. And then if this sister is a part of GMS, she should get checked severely by her man, because she had no business coming out in the street. I don't even believe she's part of GMS. So we're going to track down her husband. It's not wrong that way. It's because they're not keeping the commandments. The reason why we're breaking things down wrong, because we're not keeping the commandments. That's their go-to line. I got one scripture for that. If that was the case, then the Lord was never dealing with the Apostle Paul, because he told the people of Colossus, let no man judge you on high holy days, and which is a shadow of things to come, meaning don't let nobody judge you about the law. There was a big thing. So wait a minute. Does that make sense? Was the Lord dealing with Peter? Peter said they don't have, pursuant to Acts chapter 15, they don't have to circumcise themselves. Because you had certain men, believers, the Pharisees, priests, and all that, that said, oh, these men, in order for you to make it to the kingdom of heaven, you got to be circumcised. So it was, something that Paul had to deal with. So Paul went to Jerusalem to meet the heads, the other apostles, Peter, James, and so forth. Peter, John, James. And the conclusion was they don't have to get circumcised. Wait a minute, isn't that one of the laws? Isn't that one of the laws? So I guess we can say that the Lord really wasn't dealing with Peter, and the Lord really wasn't dealing with Paul. Because Paul told the people of Colossus, don't let nobody judge you concerning meats and drink in the respect of a high holy day. You don't got to keep the Passover. You don't got to keep that. But the Lord was dealing with Paul? Doesn't make any sense. So let me give you one precept. Where is it? Romans 9. And I believe it's around about the 30th verse. Okay, so if that's the case, Romans 9, verse 30, what shall we say then? What shall we say then? That the Gentiles, which are Israelites, which follow not after righteousness, the laws, have attained to righteousness. How in the hell did they attain to righteousness if they follow not after righteousness? Even the righteousness which is of faith, which is not the law. Abraham was counted righteous because of his faith. Because of his faith. But because of his faith, he kept the laws. So it starts with faith. Guy comes on the street, watch you speaking. He said, I agree with everything y'all saying. There's going to be a Passover in 3 days. You're going to tell the guy, okay, since you believe you're an Israelite, you got to make a garment, put fringes on it, border blue, and make sure your wife got to come in the truth. Well, she a Baptist. She's a preacher's kid. She ain't going to change. Well, you got to cut her off. What law is that? What law is that? They're adding to the scriptures. That's why they're going to be destroyed. So they tell a guy, well, the Passover in 3 days, you got to put fringes on your garment. And matter of fact, you got to buy a garment for $1,000, whatever they sell it for. It's a money thing. And then you got to come to the Passover, and you just acknowledge that the first time you ran into a group of Israelites was 3 days before the Passover. No, you don't tell that guy to come to the Passover, man. He ain't ready for the Passover. That's why Paul said what he said in Colossians 2, verse 16. He said, which is a shadow of things to come. It said, but Israel which follow after the law of righteousness, which is a law, have not attained to the law of righteousness. It says they followed the law, but they did not keep the law perfectly. Wherefore, because they sought it not by faith, faith comes before the law. You believe first, and then when you come into this thing, you grow. But as it were by the works of the law, for they stumble at that stumbling block. Wherefore, because they sought it not by faith, what did the IUIC? You got to keep the laws. You got to keep them laws. You ain't going to be saved unless you keep them laws, which ultimately is right, because when you come into the faith, you start keeping the laws. You start keeping the laws. The first year you came in right before the Passover, they're not going to tell you to come to Passover. You're diligent for a whole year, you're going to start saying, well, look, brother, since you're that diligent, you're part of the school now, you come to the Passover. You got to keep the Passover. But the day before the Passover, oh, brother, you believe you're an Israelite? You better go get some lamb. That doesn't make any sense. You know what these guys remind me of? of the scribes and the Pharisees. And the scribes and the Pharisees in Matthew 23, the people went to our Lord saying, they say that we got to keep the laws and commandments. So what did the Lord say? He said, yeah, you do got to keep the laws and commandments, but do as they say, not as they do. Because they'll tell you to do it and they're not going to do it themselves. Now, did these guys get lambs? Do they raise lambs? Because they got enough money. They got more than enough money to buy a farm and to raise lambs. And did they pick out a lamb that was pure white, without blemish, a year old? And did they slay the lamb? I don't know what goes on behind the scenes. All right, give me a second here. I mean, I had to get my book. I had to get the good book. I wanted to check some precepts. It was the Most High dealing with the Apostle Paul, because the Apostle Paul said he sinned. In Romans 7. He said that he sinned. So the Most High was still dealing with him. Get wisdom, but above all, get ye understanding. They have wisdom, they just don't have the understanding. And the reason why they can't see the MOTB, because the Most High is not dealing with the Most High, haven't opened up their eyes. Give me a second here. Romans 9 and Romans 9 and okay, it says 32 verse 932, Romans 9:32. Wherefore, because they sought it not by faith, but as it were by the works of the law, keep the law and keep the laws and keep them laws. For they stumbled at that stumbling block. So that was a stumbling block. As it is written, behold, I lay in Zion a stumbling block and rock of offense, and whosoever believeth on him shall not be ashamed. That's what it said in Galatians 3. Oh, ye foolish Galatians. You're letting these guys tell you keep the law. I should read that, but let me do this. Let me go to 32, the 32nd verse. Bear me for a minute. Okay, E. Okay, let's see what Luke 2 verse 34. Let's see what that says. Luke 2. Luke 2:34. And Simon blessed Mary, mother, his child set for fall and rising. That's not it, because I got too much explaining. Let's see what 1 Corinthians 1 verse 23 says. 1 Corinthians 1 verse 23. Okay, boom. But we preach Yahushua crucified, unto the Jews a stumbling block, and unto the Greeks foolishness. Yeah, that was a stumbling block because they didn't accept that he was the Messiah, among other things. But that's all you really need. Let me go to Colossians. Oh, let me go to Acts. Let me go to Acts. So I guess the Lord wasn't dealing with Peter and James and the apostles, because they told certain people, you don't got to keep all the laws. Give me a second. Okay, here we go. Except ye be circumcised after the manner of Moses, ye cannot be saved. Fifth verse. But there arose up certain of the sect of the Pharisees, which believed, meaning believed the Messiah, saying that it was needful to circumcise, but keep the laws, them, and to command them to keep the laws of Moses. Bear me for a minute. Let me do this. Let me go blood. I think blood is in here. Okay, so it says, okay, ultimately he said, you don't got to circumcise yourself, which is one of the laws, one of the major laws. Okay, wherefore my sentence is that we trouble not them which from among the Gentiles, the Israelites that's coming back in the fold, return to the Most High, but that we write unto them, the Israelites coming in, the proselytes, that they abstain from pollutions of idols and from fornication, adultery. Okay, these are some of the laws that you got to keep, because these are laws unto death. Fornication means adultery, and from things strangled, and from blood. But as far as circumcision, they didn't have to circumcise themselves at that time. Remember, Titus, was the Lord dealing with Titus? Titus didn't get circumcised. The Apostle Paul said that he sinned. It was not him that sinned, but sin that dwelleth in him. So did the Apostle Paul keep the laws perfectly? No. He admitted in Romans chapter 7 that he broke laws here to there, here from there. So why would the Lord still sup with him? What kind of sense does that make? For Moses' old time hath in every city them that preach him being read in the synagogue every Sabbath day, which they got that wrong. Then please the apostles, which with the whole church, St. Joseph and company. I think I got the point. Now let's go to Colossians. Colossians 2, verse 16. Let no man therefore judge you in meat or in drink or in respect of a high holy day. Now, meat meaning, it doesn't mean eating pork, or drink, or in respect of a high holy day, which are the laws. You got certain things you can eat according to the laws, certain things you can drink according to the law. It says, let no man therefore judge you in meat or in drink or in respect of a high holy day. Oh, brother, in 1 week they're gonna be a Passover. Since you said you were Israelite, you got to get fringes on your garment and you got to go to the Passover. Or of the new moon, brother, you know you got to keep them Sabbaths and stuff. Or the Sabbath day, which is what? which are a shadow of things to come, meaning the kingdom, everything's going to be done perfectly. We're going to keep the law perfectly because the Most High is going to change us. But the body is of Yahweh Shai. Let no man beguile you of your reward in a voluntary humility and worshiping of angels, intruding into those things which he hath not seen, vainly puffed up by his own fleshly mind. So they look at this guy as an angel of light. So anything this man says, that's the word of God. That's an angel talking. Why do you think, and I keep going through this, why do you think the Apostle Paul bigged up the church of Berea over the church of Thessalonica? He said, why? In Acts 17, he said, because they study. They don't take my word for it. They go back and check it to see to verify whether I'm saying the right thing. These guys don't. These guys don't. I'm going to say this. If Bishop Nate said I was wrong, the new moon is when the moon is whatever, they'll all believe it across the board. They'll all believe it. You might get 3 or 4 of them that have a problem with it. If he says, oh, I had a dream, the spirit came to me, and he ain't going to give us credit. The spirit came to me, and the Revelation 13 and 16 is that thing they're going to stick into you. Because he might just say that. But because if he doesn't, he said, go ahead and take it. Y'all going to line up like a bunch of zombies and take that shit. So I pray that he come to the truth. If he says that the MOTB is a fulfillment of, or the Charagma is a fulfillment of Revelation 13 and 16, you'll believe it. As soon as he says it, you'll believe it. You see? So the fact that he says, oh, that's not talking about that, it's talking about something else, you believe whatever he says. So the Most High is not dealing with them, period. So let's go back. I got to find it. Okay, so let's listen. Right? Were you with them at one time? Maybe. You want me something? I don't know what that means. Okay, all right. Your baby father, your husband. I'm saying the reason I understand it is bad because the ain't being kept, right? Because he goes again. So guess what? I just read to you in Acts 15 that Peter said, no, you don't got to circumcise yourself, which is a major law. Apostle Paul said, he said that he breaks the law in Romans 7. So why would the Most High continue to deal with these apostles? Huh? And now, you know what comes to mind with this woman? Let me listen to a little bit more. That's what we teach. We, like you say, you believe in the Bible. Israel united in Christ. We teach the Bible. And the Bible says, read that. Exodus chapter 22 and verse 16. And if a man in Christ is married that is not betrothed and lie with her, he shall surely endow her to be his wife. You gotta make it your wife. You gotta make it your wife, huh? So that means if you entice a woman, you have sex with her. You have sex first, and then you make her your wife. That's the law. That's the law. Okay? So if this man laid with this woman and he's an Israelite and he push her to the curb, he's going off, unless she's completely out of order. But let's deal with this. You come into IUIC with your wife. You got a couple of kids. She don't want to be an Israelite. You know, what does IUIC tell you? And ask them. I've heard them say it. They'll tell you that oh, your wife got to believe. And she said, I don't believe. So what do they say? Give her 6 months. If she don't come around, cut her off. So you're cutting the woman off. So that's breaking the law right there. So let's listen to a little bit more of this madness. He What if a guy has 2 or 3 women? He got that are legally married. You can't have 2 or 3 women, so you got to cut off 2 of them. And there was one video that the IUIC, one of them made, where it says if you have more than one wife, that the first one's your wife, the rest of them are hoes. So David had a bunch of hoes. Solomon 700 wives. He had 699 hoes. They should go and have sex with a woman and not marry her. So that's what the Bible teaches. You see what I'm saying? The dogs. To make them authenticate the dogs and make sure they work what they do. Paperwork on them. And if she was with a brother from GMS, she ain't a right woman, you know. And the scriptures speak about silly women. They creep in houses, leading silly women astray, laden. I'm merely paraphrasing, laden with iniquity. Now she can't get, if she joins IUIC, she can't get with no man because she's pregnant with another man that's not dealing with her. So she's gonna have to wait until the kingdom comes, until her body, until the Most High change her, or she dies and come back in another life. So she's doomed. She can't. You think she's gonna do that, huh? If you can buy a dog, you're like, hey, it's only $100 without the papers, but with papers, it's $700, right? It puts importance on it. It shows the worth of those dogs, right? So if a man gonna marry you and not get paperwork on you, what do you think about you? That means he don't have no worth in you. Watch it. Read the scripture. Read. Exodus chapter 22. Nah, I told it. The man told it. 4 and 12. 7. 7:14. Read that for me. Chapter 7 and verse 14. And called Edna his wife, and took paper and did write an instrument of covenant. If they took paper and wrote an instrument of covenant, that's a marriage license, right? Because guess what? If that brother died, you have to fight his parents for anything that he owns, right? But you're supposed to be his wife. That's supposed to go right to you. That's biblical, right? It lets you know that the reason why we're in the conditions we're in and we have bad understanding is because people are still not keeping the commandments. Right? Even brothers that consider themselves Israelites, they still not keeping the commandments of God, sis, right? Like with the dress code, right? You know you're supposed to be in the modest dress, right? You're supposed to go down a little further, right? You know that. You know it, right, sis? But we don't do it. You know why? Because your husband taught you an evil lesson. He's not keeping the commandments. So guess what? We don't keep the commandments. Right? That's the way it goes. If you part of the commandments, you can have more than one wife, but you can't have it in Israel. Also, the scriptures say if you have a believing wife, 1 Corinthians chapter 7, a woman could have an unbelieving husband and a husband could have an unbelieving wife. Not with IUIC, because they got the scriptures speak about the traditions of men. So they're fear toward the Most High is taught by the traditions of men. Let me see if I can find that. It's written in a couple of places. Okay, I'm sorry. Traditions, do this. Traditions, put an extra S there. Okay. Traditions, let's see what comes up. Still ain't coming up. I'm a terrible speller. I'm a terrible speller. And please forgive me for that. Let me do this here. Traditions. Maybe it's tradition. Let me try that. Tradition. Let me try it that way. There it goes. I put in traditions instead of tradition. Mark 7 and 8. For laying aside the commandments of the Most High, ye hold the tradition of men as the washing of pots and cups and many other such things ye do. So they'll tell you they do certain laws. Like, for example, the law says there's a certain code to your garments, but you're supposed to carry around a paddle. All right? The Passover. The Passover, you're supposed to have a lamb, a male lamb, a 1-year-old, um, uh, without blemish. Do they do that? Because they damn sure got the money to do it. It says, beware lest any man spoil you through philosophies and vain deceit. After the tradition of men, you can only have one woman, brother. And your woman got to be in the truth. That's clearly unscriptural. Or else tear 1 Corinthians 7 out the page. Just tear it out. Just tear it out. After the rudiments of the world and not after Christ. Another thing, they call on Christ. We found out that Christ is a Greek and Latin word. Why would you use? Well, that's the English way of saying. That's not the English way of saying that. When you say Christ, that word goes back to the Greek and the Latin. So you're saying Messiah or chosen or anointed in either Greek or Latin. They'll say, who's the king? Most High Christ. The law speaks about, let me give you some more law. Since you guys are about the law, what is that? Leviticus. It's either Leviticus or Exodus. I'll tell you in a minute. Okay, it's Exodus. It's got to be Exodus. Exodus 23. It says, thou shalt not follow a multitude to do evil. They're following this one guy. They're not being like the church of Berea. It says, this is a law. This is a law right here. That in all things that I have said unto you, this is Moses speaking to the Israelites, be circumspect and make no mention of the name of other gods. Is Christ another God? Neither let it be heard out of thy mouth. Now, what that means is neither let it be heard out of thy mouth. It means to be remembered. In other words, I can say Allah, I can say Jehovah, I can say Krishna, I can say this, but if I pray, oh great, and use that word, that's going off. That's what it means. That's what it means when it says mention, to like honor that God. So when they say, who's the King Christ? Who's the King Christ? They're breaking Exodus 23, verse 13. There was another precept that was in my head that I forgot. Maybe the Spirit didn't want me to bring it out. Oh, it just came back. I'm almost positive it's 2 Corinthians 11. Bear with me for a minute. Okay. 2 Corinthians 11, verse 3. But I fear lest by any means, as the serpent beguiled Eve through his subtlety, so your mind should be corrupted from the simplicity that is in the Messiah. The word there is Messiah. For if he that cometh preaches another Jesus, Most High in Christ blessed. They're preaching another Jesus because that's not his name. We found out even the blue letter tells you that that's not his name. That his name starts with a Yah. Yah, Yahawashai, whom ye have not preached, because back in the day when Bishop Nate was back at the school, he uh-oh, there they go. He used to call on Yahweh and Yahawashai. Matter of fact, he did a video after they kicked us out. Him and Ben Bunyamin and the HODC did like a 2-hour video, 2-hour chain video. The name of the Most High is Yahweh, and the Son's name is Yahawashai. It's not Christ. Now give me this book and go to the Hebrew and go into this. But now he went back to saying Christ. So what law is he breaking? Exodus 23 and 13. But if he that cometh preaches another Jesus, whom we have not preached, or because he didn't preach that back in the past, so he went backwards. Or if ye receive another spirit, which ye have not, another spirit meaning you can only have one wife, and your wife got to be in the truth. If she's not in the truth, give her 6 months and kick her out. What about the kids? Fuck the kids. Which ye have not received, or another gospel which ye have not accepted. The new moon is the full moon. You might well bear with them, and that's what they're doing. That's exactly what they're doing. So I'm positive that Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai is going to break up the IUIC, and he's going to deliver the sincere brothers that happen to be of the elect in that group. That's my personal thoughts on it, right? So there's a video, IUIC, GMS wife left behind and pregnant, put up by Remnant Say 144 Bar is live. So, and if IUIC is so great, how many men from GMS then left and went to you? I'm talking about the major men. Ain't no brother from GMS saying, I'm not with y'all no more. I'm going with the IUIC. When I saw Bishop Nate on that horse, it got to me. And if you're thinking that way, don't think about it. Go ahead and do it, man. Don't be about it. Go, and I'll open the door for you. Any of you in GMS that's thinking about going with the IUIC, go with them. Go with them. I beg of you, go with them. We don't need you. So now let's listen to a little bit more of this madness.
And you listening to Cardi B, Megan Thee Stallion, your daughter gonna do the same thing, right? If it was a father, he's smoking weed, guess what? The kid's gonna be smoking weed, right? It's a process, right? So we gotta make sure we come back to keeping God's laws, statutes, and commandments. That's what we gotta do, right? So I mean, just in short, we about to get out of here, but just in short, to I know do for that kid. A girl, boy, it's a girl, right? Go to Titus chapter 2 real quick. Titus 2. You got a girl coming, you got a princess coming on this earth. It's your responsibility and your job to make sure that she gets the proper understanding of the scriptures and how to carry herself as a princess. We have to repent and change and get ourselves right. So this way, you ain't to the point to where you can't.
Oh, another thing, the Lord, this man is lined up. He looked like he lied, but he's lined up. This man's lined up. Another thing, they follow the teachings of Paul. There's many, not these two men. There's a bunch of men in the IUIC that have super long hair. They got different styles, dreadlocks. Oh, the scriptures speak about wearing a costly array, jewelry, and plaiting of the hair, which means braiding of the hair. But you can clearly see this man's lined up, and that goes against the scriptures. Mar not the corners of thy beard. So they broke another law.
You fix yourself, right? Tomorrow you can fix yourself, right? I'm right to the point, right? When you do fix yourself, you got to do this. Titus chapter 2 and verse 3. The aged woman likewise. The aged woman likewise. Right? All of the women. You're not a little girl. So it says the aged woman likewise, the aged woman likewise, that they be in behavior as becoming holiness. So holiness. You gotta be separate, right? Things about you gotta be different from everybody else on the earth, right? So separate, holy, read, not false accusers, not giving too much wine, teach you some good things, that you gotta teach good things.
Not being a false accuser. The leader of the IUIC falsely accused me of being a rapist. He said that down there in one of them islands, I believe Jamaica. So that's going to, he broke that law.
Good, according to the Bible, is the law of God, right? You got to teach good things, right? They teach the young women, like your child that's to be coming up. It's your job to teach the young women, right? To be sober, to love their husband. Whatever you got to teach her as a young girl to love her husband, right? Because a lot of our sisters weren't taught that, right? They was like, oh, these niggas ain't shit. You know, we don't heard that. Black men ain't been this forever. Right. I grew up hearing that song, I'm not your superwoman. I won't with you. Never get let nobody you gotta make sure you have work, you feel a work about to fix myself. And now I'm teaching you the right way. Right? Read. To be the street chase, people that holy. Obedient to their own husband. You gotta teach her to be obedient to her husband. But not just some Negro that's gonna have a baby with you and not be married to you.
Okay, in that case, I don't know what their thing is, but I believe they teach us too that if a woman come into IUIC and they come in with they got a husband and he's a Muslim, you gotta cut him off inside of 6 months. If he don't change around, you gotta cut him off. I don't know how true that is, but what is that woman gonna? First of all, you're causing her to commit adultery because she's gonna either get with a man in the IUIC, or she gonna leave the truth and get with another man, and they could have had a good relationship. The Messiah said that you cause her to commit adultery. The only way you can cut her off is in the act of fornication or adultery. So if you have a woman that comes to this truth, the man doesn't believe, you got to cut him off, sis. If a man comes in the truth, he has 5 wives, you got to cut four of them off, causing 4 women to commit adultery. Let's say he came from another Hebrew congregation. The guy comes in, he's part of GMS this or some other group, Shikari that, or HOD that, and he got 5 women with him. He gets disenchanted. He wants to get with the IUIC. They're going to stop him at the door. They're going to say, wait a minute, who's all these women? These are your daughters, your sisters, your aunties, your cousins? No, these are my wives. Well, look, brother, that ain't working over here. That might work with GMS and them, and Sakari and HODC and ICBK. That ain't working over here. You're going to have to cut 4 of them off, and you can choose one. So what does that cause? That causes these women to go out, become disenchanted, and lay with other men. So, that whole law thing, it turns back and bites you.
Right? Even if he calls himself a godly man or say he's an Israelite or whatnot, guess what? He got to follow the commandments too. Right? I got to follow the commandments. If not, I'm a hypocrite, just like the scribes and the Pharisees. Right? So a lot of times people hold on to certain things. Don't. A lot of times, certain Israelite groups can put a stain on what this actually is because they don't actually live the life that the Bible says to live. Right? And the Bible says it's going to be heresies. They say it must be heresies among you. I mean, it's going to be Israelites, it's going to be teaching things that's against the Bible. Right? So you'll be able to see who's approved.
Yeah, like the IUIC on the MOTB. They're clearly going off on that. What we teach about the MOTB, Revelation 13, is going to come to pass. Then the leadership of the IUIC is going to have to explain it to their congregation. Either they're going to say, well, I'm going to lose my job. I got a good job. I'm making 6 figures. Well, I'm making 5 figures. I'm making over $100,000. I got benefits. I got kids and all this. If I lose that job, I ain't gonna get a good job. But they tell me, well, you ain't gonna get a job, period. You're gonna have to stand on faith. The law ain't gonna feed you. Faith is gonna feed you. You can see he's lined up. Leviticus 19:27. They lined up. You got men, and they basically he's regurgitating. I mean, he's saying good things, but he's going off. He's going off. Okay? Let's come on back.
And you're standing right in front of the pool right now, sister. So you got a fire on you. You got one fire. So look, you got a number. Get out of there, right? I don't know if you still mad or whatever that situation. At the least, you can call. We got flashes online. Make that a reset, right? You can repeat and reset, and you can be a you can live up to the name of being a daughter.
That means if she ain't, in other words, don't go back to that man. Don't try to work things out. So we don't know the whole backstory of this woman. Remember, the scriptures say they crept into houses, leading captive, silly women laden with sin, iniquity. So they put in GMS. So whoever's dealing with this woman, I want you to come out and make a video. Unless you just made it up. Unless you're dealing with a guy that watches our videos. Okay. So anyway, with that, I'm gonna say shalom. What I'm gonna do hashtag IUIC. With that, I'm gonna say shalom. On to the next one.